So grateful to you, Pranav and Paul, for joining this moment to have this conversation about what is close to all of our hearts, and that is education. So, Pranav, tell me about your view of education and how it all started. I'm also very interested to know what differentiates the work that you're doing and what you see the future of it.
Education is one of the few levers that helps learners jump orbits, do much better than their parents did, and it's also an irreversible transformation. The purpose of education is to bring up good citizens, good citizenship, values, sense of camaraderie, sharing. I think that's the ultimate goal. There has been a lot of discussion whether technology would create a digital divide. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think it's the only way we can close the divide. I think the reason why technology can close this divide is because access to high quality education can be provided in a very cost-effective manner in the remotest parts of the world. It's very challenging to provide human capital. So I think what technology can do is help human teachers achieve their intent. One can centralize the pedagogy, research, and quality, and then disseminate it at scale without loss of fidelity. And that's why I'm betting big on technology in education.
Right now, AI is making a big splash, right? Everybody's talking about it. The application you have created is AI driven. And it was 15 years ago you came up with this idea. So tell me about how did that happen?
All technology should solve a fundamental pedagogy challenge that teachers are facing. Otherwise, it might just be fancy. We feel one of the important mechanisms for a child to master reading is to have an affinity, a relatability with some of the content. Today, textbooks are the same for all students in a particular geography. And that's for the convenience and for cost effectiveness of printing. But with generative AI, we can create texts that are personalized to every child. And we feel the propensity to read will go up because they had an input in the creation of the story. Children, to get better at their speech, they need to get constant feedback on what they said well and what they can say better. Historically, you would have a one-on-one, like you would have to give me feedback as an English teacher, and that is very limited time that I would get it. But with generative AI, we're able to give students feedback on their speech, on everything from the grammar, structured thinking, and that allows them to keep practicing.
So, Pranav, I mean, generative AI is the conversation of today, but you're talking about it for an application that you developed 15 years ago. So, how did you think of AI 15 years ago?
We would test students on English, math, science, social studies from grades 1 through 10. For the first decade, we had tested about 15 million students. And through that, we came up with patterns that we found where students would have misconceptions. Some students would tell us that 3.5 is a smaller number than 3.12 because they thought 5 is smaller than 12. Other students would think that if you take a piece of paper and crumple it, it becomes heavier because it falls faster. So we came up with a long list of misconceptions that students had. So when we looked at this data, we tried to understand why do students think this way. So we read every journal paper that was published in maths education, science education. We talked to the students and asked them, why do you think this way? And so when we built MindSpark in 2009, it was meant to target these, to remediate these, where it would sort of first diagnose what misconceptions children had and then take them on a personalized adaptive path to resolve those misconceptions. Which is why the clinical efficacy trials of MindSpark, show that children can learn up to 3 times more compared to a control group.
3 times 4. Yeah. And you've done blind studies as well, right? And about to do one with the Ministry of Education in South Africa, I think, yeah?
That's right. I think we have more than 3 randomized control trials done by JPAL and ID Insight. We've been participants in the world's largest development impact bond. So there's a lot of independent, neutral, third-party validation of MindSpark that comes up with these results. And we are committed to being externally evaluated for the work that we do to generate this body of knowledge and create a global public good in terms of what works, what doesn't, so that we can solve the larger problem of every child learning with understanding.
Amazing. I've seen it at work, both in India and in South Africa. And I have never walked into a classroom of 60 people, 80 people in a very crammed room where all the students are absolutely engaged. So where is it going with this educational approach? What do you see happening in the next 5 years?
My dream is that just like how in most schools around the world, every child gets a nutritious meal when they're in school, MindSpark is like protein for the mind. And in the near future, every child will have access to an hour of personalized adaptive learning, which will, nourish their mind and help them learn faster.
Yes, and it's incredibly cost effective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can, do this for less than 50 cents a day. And that can give a 300% increase in learning outcomes, which is, what makes it impactful. And once a child gets educated, I think the chances that they'll earn greater incomes in their lives, that they'll be good, active citizens in society. And what's the value of that?
Way beyond just technology, growing capable people who lead themselves, but also contribute to the betterment of their communities. Wonderful. Paul, all good work in nonprofit world requires funds. And the dream of every innovator like Pranav is to have people who come, who understand the impact and come to support it as a part of a larger team. So I'm wondering whether you could share, well, why did you choose MindSpark from all the choices that were out there? I mean, you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, you have successfully built a whole company.
Why, thank you. I'm feeling very flattered
true.
here. Yes.
I mean, you have built an incredible company. You now are dedicating yourself to service to others. And of all the things that you could choose, you chose MindSpark as the area for your focus. So I'm just wondering, what do you consider as good education? What does education mean to you, and why MindSpark as a funder and a philanthropist and a business person?
Well, hi, Mahnaz. It's great to be with you and my dear friend Pranav. Here we are on the border of Kruger Park. Who would have thought that we'd be all together in South Africa with birdsong in the background, taking a break after a rather hectic schedule over the last week of visiting schools where MindSpark is being innovated to address the compelling problem that great part of the developing world is experiencing. And the question is, how do we empower kids to improve their lives effectively, measurably, and so on, through foundational literacy and numeracy? And of course, to address that, you have to look at the fundamental problem, which is that you have huge class sizes with students of varying educational attainments, with an often undertrained and certainly overwhelmed and underpaid teacher trying to address this. And so in the fourth decade of my work as an entrepreneur, I took a leave of absence for a year because I was excited to delve more deeply into this question. And in the course of doing so, I was looking for something that would surely be impactful, something that could be cost-effective, and something that would not throw up other barriers of culture or political correctness or anything of that sort. And attending a Harvard Business School course, there was a case about educational initiatives. Yes. And in that course, Pranav was the protagonist, someone who had abandoned a promising financial career to dedicate himself to the very same problem that I was excited about. And he and his organization were addressing the challenge of getting this wonderful MindSpark program into the public sector, where it certainly is most needed, but where there are major organization and structural challenges. And as I got into it more deeply, I thought, wow, this guy really cares about the same things I do. We went to India in the summer of 2018. I made my initial commitments, and specifically what I'm trying to do is jumpstart the opportunity to achieve those initial successes that will pave the way for greater participation by other parties. Okay? Consequently, we will have the ability to scale, which is a fundamental criterion of what I wanted to do. And in fact, I believe that we have seen good progress in that direction, where our initial pilots in 5 schools, 10 schools, etc., have led to impactful results, the consequence of which has been to present the results, the criteria that foundations and even governments would require in order to put some skin in the game on their part. I mean, we started in India, we got going in 2022 in South Africa. This year we're in Zambia. We just innovated in Cambodia. And as a businessman still, and perhaps being influenced by that mentality, I'm looking for results.
And I think that it really takes all of us to collaborate together.
Sure, and what you and Mona Foundation have done is brought us into a community of practitioners all over the world trying to make the world a happier and healthier place for kids. Okay, and for people broadly in terms of education, social, emotional learning, etc., and also imposed certain structures on us, in a kind way, so that we can understand in the broader context, whether we're fitting well into the community and asking the kind of bigger questions, not merely whether in the assessments we're achieving outcomes, but whether we indeed, in a more comprehensive way, are being a force for good.
Yes, and I think that it is finding those alignments and collaborative models. I mean, seeing Pranav and yourself and in this trip truly meet with I don't know how many foundations, businesses, the partners, implementers at the level of the grassroots. And it truly highlighted that it is no longer possible to create change, which is really what Mona has been saying all of these years. Create change alone, and to make sure that it is the grassroots, that the capacity is built at the level of the grassroots, so that over time, as they assume ownership of the process, assume ownership of the platform and the learnings, and the teachers are brought in and given autonomy to drive it, that it doesn't fall apart when you go and expand, somewhere else, or when the funds stop, So in that way, I was very excited, Paul, that you introduced MindSpark to Mona Foundation, because we are in many ways aligned, not only in the whole value of, the purpose of education to be, yes, to build self, yes, to uplift family, but also, develop citizens that contribute to the betterment of their communities. I think in those ways we are absolutely aligned, but as well on the fact that technology has to be part of the equation in order to scale, and as an enabler and as a catalyst. So the question is, you're talking about a scale, and you talked, Paul, about now in Zambia and Cambodia. Well, Pranav, how does that work? And Paul, how does that implementation work? What does it take to scale out from one country to another? What criteria do you use to select a partner, for instance, and then contextualize the implementation to the culture of that country?
I'll tell you this incident, Mahnaz, when at the board I was, talking about my international strategy, and one of the board members stopped me and said, Pranav, there is no international strategy. You need a national strategy for each country. And that stayed with me. There is so much nuance, so much culture, so much, last mile thinking that you can't have an international strategy. So what we do is we once we decide which country we would like to go, we see who are local nonprofits who have already spent decades,
Yes.
working there. We meet with them, we get to see their work.
It's exactly
pick-
Mona's approach.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
very similar.
Yes.
We've also come to realize in education that it's important for children to learn in a language of comfort. It could be
Yes.
the mother tongue language, it could be what the village speaks,
Yes.
it could be what the school's medium of instruction would be.
Okay.
And of course, globally, there is a high aspiration for English, and it can be as an additional language.
Yes.
So what we do is we contextualize the software to have local images,
Yes.
names,
Yes.
grandmother's tales, fairy
Yes.
tales,
Yes.
and that allows children to have relatability,
Yes,
which
perfect.
improves
Yes,
education.
Yes, that's
So-
one of the differentiators.
Yes. We work inside schools
Yes.
as part of the timetable
Yes.
with the maths teacher or English teacher or science teacher.
Okay.
For that, all of the product in each country is contextualized to the curriculum
Okay.
because we want to empower the teacher.
Yeah.
We want the teacher to feel it's their own period, it's their own lesson plan. We don't want to be just external software.
Yes.
So all of the product is customized as per local regulations. We get approvals from the ministries and the governments, but we want the teachers to feel like this will help them
Yes.
and not be an additional burden.
Mahnaz, I don't like to call it technology, okay? Technology is a component of what it is. What it is a value proposition, okay? It is, we are going to address your fundamental problem. You've got a huge class, overwhelmed teachers, etc. We have developed a solution which we are quite ready to customize, okay, in order to achieve the kind of results that are going to enable you and the community and the larger group around you to scale it and make a measurable contribution to improving and empowering the lives of kids.
My final question to you, Pranav. So I know that the goal is to get 10 million by 2030. I would love to. Mona Foundation is very much committed to do whatever we can in support of that goal, of course. But right now, could you talk about a little bit about how many students have been educated using MindSpark? Some of your stats, so that it give context to how far we have to go.
Mahnaz, every day we have 500,000 students who log into MindSpark, and they're learning in 11 different languages in 4 different countries. Over the last 15 years, this has had more than 5 million unique learners who have been on the platform, and we hope that we can keep continuing to grow this.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure. Learned a lot to do, but the way forward is pretty clear.